I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith, and welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Got a whole lot to discuss, grade, analyze, and talk about. First off, the What's Your Grade segment, and we're going to grade a lot of things. First off, the Pistons acquired guard / forward Joe Harris, two-position player, a 2027 second-round pick, and a 2029 second-round draft pick from the Brooklyn Nets. Now, Joe Harris, 46.6% from three-point range, especially before he suffered a season-ending ankle injury on March 3rd. He had surgery, had it done, but
it was a previous
I
injury
see
that he had
potential
the
on
season
it.
before.
Yep, I see potential on it. So, Ed, analyze and then grade it.
My analyzation of this, I would give it a B first and foremost, bare minimum, a B grade, because it takes care of a need that you would need to address on your team, which is you need available spacing and wing scoring. It just can't be Bogdanovich by himself. You need more reliable players like that that can take the offensive pressure off of Cade and off of Ivy, give you an outside threat just in case teams may want to try and start doubling in or doubling up on Duran in the post, for example. Just give you that type of looming threat and outside presence that I mentioned before, as well as depth to go along with the similar player in Bogdanovich. It is worth mentioning that he does have an expiring deal that the Pistons have decided to take on. In the form of those, I believe it was worth $20 million. So it does admittedly eat into their cap space, but it is an expiring deal, so you might as well say it's a rental. In my opinion, I have um, no trouble with it. Also, when you add in the fact that you get, in addition to that, two future first round draft picks. So you mean to tell me I'm getting a sharpshooting wing who, admittedly, yes, he's 31. Yes, he's coming off of dealing with an ankle injury from 2 years ago and surgery the year this past recent March. But before that, he gave me reliable starting and playing time. He played in at least 60 to 65 games per season up until the past 2 years ago. So you tell me I'm getting that, and it's an expiring deal, and it provides help on my team. I got no problem with that. I understand people wanted to get, oh, why couldn't we get Cam Johnson? Why couldn't we get Cam Johnson? Number one, Cam Johnson was going to cost too much money. Cam Johnson was probably didn't want to come here anyway. The Nets were probably going to do whatever they can to keep Cam Johnson. So I think that was the understanding that the Pistons had when they made this deal. Not to mention, Monty Williams, he coached Cam Johnson. I think he would know better than anyone what better tactics or what tendencies or what system that Cam would work best under and would perform best in. And I would think that would be playing an influence into making that decision as well. I understand they want to, hey, you want to get this player, you want to get that player, but let's not forget that you once overspent for players like Ben Gordon and Charlie Villanueva and Josh Smith. Okay, so let's not be too hasty about wanting to be upset that we didn't overspend and set our franchise back the way we've done before, time after time again.
Right. The Pistons were not even done yet. They also acquired point guard Monty Morris from the Washington Wizards for a future second-round draft pick. Let's see here. Go. Second-round draft pick. What's your grade with analysis on Monty Morris?
B minus. I think B minus, high C plus type of range. With Monty Morris, you do get a veteran point guard. It is worth noting that he is a Flint native, as evident by him when he posts out a tweet saying, quote, "I'm coming home." I see him as someone you can have giving reliable presence and leadership for the second unit. And I think I see someone and along with your draft pick with Marcus Strasser, as someone who is saying bye-bye to someone like a Corey Joseph, for example, because with the depth and with the room that you're creating at that guard position, someone or some of these players are not going to be brought back from last year. So this is your way of saying bye bye, Corey Joseph. I'm all for it.
All right, so here, let me delete on LinkedIn. Save changes. All right, so those are the two Pistons, the two trades that the Pistons made. We'll keep our eyes on them throughout the entire summer, the off season. So let's get to the Red Wings. First off, their NHL draft picks in 2023. Center Nate Danielson from the Brandon Wheat Kings of the WHL, 78 points in 68 games. And then they got defenseman Axel Sandin Pellikka at 17th overall. He got 36 he recorded 36 points in the Sweden Junior League and won the silver medal at the U18 World Junior Championships with Team Sweden. And then at 41st overall, goalie Trey Augustine from Michigan State University and the U.S. and Team USA. 42nd overall, defenseman Andrew Gibson from the OHL at Sault Ste. Marie. 47th overall, defenseman Brady Cleveland from the US NTDP as well. 73rd, left winger Noah Dower Nilsson from Frölunda, Sweden. 117th overall, defenseman Larry Keenan from the Culver Academy of Indiana. 137th overall, defenseman Jack Phelan from Sioux Falls of the USHL. 147th overall, left winger Kevin Bicker from Mannheim, Germany. 169th overall, goaltender Rudy Guyman from Taft School. And 201st overall, center Emmett Finney from Kamloops of the WHL. So, your thoughts overall on the draft class, and what's your grade?
My thoughts overall on the draft class, I would say it speaks into the philosophy of what Eisman has been saying, and in some instances has been repeating over the past several months or so, which is patience. He feels rather that there's still ways to go in terms of wanting to make this team into as a proper competitor as need be and as possible. Which is why I'll explain that even more when we get to the free agent signings portions of this, and why some of these deals and moves don't don't surprise me, despite the reaction, or I should say overreactions, that I've been seeing by members of the fan base. And I'll speak to that in a little bit as well. But in terms of what we're getting here from our first round draft picks, I'd like to focus on that primarily. With Nate Danielson, you're getting in some people's eyes, in many people's eyes, a top 10 North American prospect. He is a Edmonton, Alberta native, so you're getting a nice, good Canadian boy to join your squad here. It is worth noting that he was a captain of his WHL team, and for good reason. He was essentially their best player. He led the team in many, or was a top 5 ranking of the team in many offensive categories, including scoring, including goals, assists, the whole lot, you name it. He was part of it, and not to mention, it goes into what his overall game is. He's essentially a point per game type of player. Well, in terms of throughout the duration of the season, you can bet your bottom dollar he is going to at least give you some type of level of production on the offensive side of things. So whether it be giving you 78 points, like you mentioned this past season, or the year prior with 57 points, that's reliable consistency that you want to see out of someone, especially for someone that you're drafting in the first round. And again, I should also note it helps build good center depth with what you already have with Larkin and with Casper as well. So you always want to see that from your core of young players that you drafted and want to develop over time as well. Now, in terms of Pellikka, I see with this, I believe he's what, an 18-year-old prospect. I see with him, you get the right-handed defenseman help that I've mentioned before, both on air and to you, Taylor, in the group chat as well. What you need at that specific spot, since Sider has you covered on the left-handed side of things. He can provide you offense and he can provide you depth with not just Sider, but also guys like Edvinson and Wallander as well. So if you want to ask me what my grade overall is, I would say B plus. I really think between the in terms of the type of player that you got at 17 who could have easily gone top 10 if possible, and the fact that you got in my view the nice one of the best young center prospects in Danielson, and he essentially fell to you maybe at number 9. This would be another example of that happening once again for the Red Wings in this draft. I'm very satisfied with what they were able to do in this draft, and I give it a fine B plus.
All right. So the Red Wings, all after that, they signed goaltender James Reimer and goaltender Alex Lyon. Reimer, a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. Alex Lyon, 2-year, $1.8 million. So apparently they bumped Alex Nedeljkovic off. He's out of there.
Yeah, it's just to give you reliable backup, and in case of emergency depth, if something in terms of behind Billy Husso, because everyone knows Husso is the guy going forward. This is just giving him reliable backup depth as humanly possible.
Yep. And then they got signed Maple Leafs defenseman Justin Hall to a 3-year, $10.2 million contract.
Mm.
Some may not like him, but after reading the analysis, he's at least a decent defenseman.
True, but some would argue that that's because of the type of team that was surrounding him. This is a team that was making the playoffs consistently year in year out in Toronto. You got to remember now that he's getting paid more money, but he's going to be on a worse team. How would that production translate and work itself out? Which reminds me of another signing we'll get to in just a second. But with Hall, he gives you more of that defenseman help, like I mentioned before, with the Pelican draft pick. So there's that at least. And I already talked about the goaltender depth before as well.
Yep. And then forward Daniel Sprung from the Seattle Kraken to a 1-year, $2 million contract. Right-handed defenseman Brogan Rafferty, apparently from the Kraken as well, 2-year, $1.5 million. And then the two really good signings. Forward JT Compher from the Colorado Avalanche, a 5-year, $25.5 million contract. And defenseman Shane Gostisbehere from the Carolina Hurricanes via the Arizona Coyotes to a 1-year, $4.125 million contract. And then also before then, Tim Gettinger, a 1-year, two-way contract. And then Arizona Coyotes forward Christian Fischer, a $1.125 million contract. He recorded 13 goals and 13 assists, 26 points in 80 games at age 26. So Ed, what is your grade overall with all those signings?
My grade overall, particularly.
Oh, by the way, Kim Costin from the Edmonton Oilers in a trade. They they bought out Yamamoto. So
yeah, they bought him out. But in terms of what you want to define this whole free agency class, I think it goes to your top 2 signings. That's what your most 2 impactful moves that you want to use to define of what you want to do in terms of adding improvements to this team, and in terms of what you got here with both Comper and with Shane. I see with nothing more than a B plus type of range. I think with Comper, some may see it as a bit of an overpay, but Yzerman, let's not forget, recently, the past couple of weeks or so, he was on interviews talking about of how 7-year deals, 8-year deals can be a risk in this type of field. So knowing that he's much more comfortable giving out a 5-year deal is something that I have no problem with whatsoever. Here's some things about Comfort, besides the fact that he is coming off of winning a Stanley Cup with the Avs in 2022. he did have a breakout offensive year this past season. Granted, he is coming around surrounded amongst a team that was coming off of a cup win, but still, it speaks to his development more than likely, considering the fact that before he recorded 52 points, his previous career high was 33. So it speaks well to his development, probably speaks well to the Avs development team as well. But, you pay for what you get for. And consider the fact that he's 28, by the way, also U of M alum. So he's going to be on the same team with another fellow Wolverine and Dylan Larkin. I'm sure the captain's going to like that. But also, you have someone can give you solid defense for someone who is at a primary offensive position, while also being paid to where, he's going to be amongst your top 9 names in with your forward and center department, while your guys like Sider and Edvinson, the guys I mentioned on the defenseman side, they handle the back end of things. So the fact that he's 28, to me, I don't mind that, because I'd rather get a guy who's just on the cusp of turning 30 as opposed to a Duchesne who is much older, for example. I know some people would have wanted him, but to me, nah. I think with this type of money, this type of deal that you're giving out, I'd rather get a 5-year deal to a 28-year-old than give out a 5-year deal to a guy in his mid-30s. No, thank you.
All right. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing about Shane. He does provide you with power play help. And the fact that you're getting that on essentially a 1-year rental at $4 million a year, consider the fact that your power play was dreadful last season.
Yeah. Especially at home.
Yeah, so
it was better on the road, but it was worse at home.
Yeah, and I think with who was it? Oh yeah, with Comfer, he does give you some right-handed offense in face-offs, which was another thing that they were terrible at last year. So, to me, all things considered, these are fine upgrades in my opinion.
All right, so yeah, the Red Wings do need him for their power play. So. I guess it's time for us to move on to some Tigers. They sent Nick Maton and Joey Wentz down after losing 2 of 3 to the Twins. Well, they sent Maton after losing 2 of 3 to the Twins, and then Wentz got rocked in Texas in Game 3. Technically, they're both in AAA Toledo. It was about time Joey Wentz was sent down, especially, but Nick Maton, he has been a major surprising disappointment, and especially with his bat. And now his defense is starting to cause problems.
That's not good. It's not good. It shows signs of someone who mentally is not there. It's not ready, or at least I should say, not quite ready yet. It seems for what type of atmosphere being on this stage of the show brings to him. There could be that type of effect that you're seeing. And so the Tigers are just going to say, hey, listen, we're sending you back down. We're sending you down to Toledo. Get your head right. We'll let you know when you're ready to just focus on being yourself, playing your game, and we'll let you know when we need you back up. In my opinion, I wouldn't mind seeing them do that with another a player or so on their roster. Maybe a Torkelson, perhaps, but maybe that's pushing it too extreme. But that's my opinion.
Torkelson did hit 2 home runs in Game 4, the finale of that 4-game set at Globe Life Park against those Rangers.
That's good, but he needs to show more consistency at that.
Yep,
because
he needs to prove more.
Right, because you're coming up now on 1,000 so at bats or so in your career.
And he's been on and off, and that's not good enough.
Right. Exactly. You want to be seen as this potential face of the next generation of this team after guys like Cabrera and such walk away. This is not the right proving stage or proving ground so far.
Right.
I can at least appreciate the fact though that they're at least doing this with Maton and Wentz.
Oh yeah, Maton.
Maton, excuse me. I always get his name wrong. Excuse me. It's like a gimmick or something. With Maton, though, and Wentz. But I wouldn't mind them considering possibly doing that for Torkelson as well. They won't do it, but I wouldn't mind seeing that as a possibility.
Right. won't do it at least yet. Not like right now.
No,
But
give it some time after the All Star break, but we'll see. We'll see if that tune changes or not.
yep, Tigers split their 4 game series with the Texas Rangers, and then they took 2 of 3 from the Colorado Rockies, including a 14-9 win. Javier in a game where Javier Baez opened the scoring with a grand slam. Out of all people, out of all events occurring, and then Kerry Carpenter a 3-run home run. As I look at that scoring summary right about now, yeah, Kerry Carpenter made it 7-2, and then Jake Rogers added a solo home run. Matt
Worth
Manning got the
noting.
win. Yep.
It's worth noting that since they are playing in Colorado with that high elevation, elevated air in the atmosphere, there's a reason why that the Rockies Park is considered one of, if not the most,
Coors Field.
Course Field in terms of ballparks giving up the most home runs. It's not surprised to see Coors Field listed up there near the top of those rankings because of the mile high altitude.
Yeah, and then Jake Marisnik hit a grand slam as well. So that's
See?
2 grand slams in 1 game.
Exactly. When you see
That proves it.
yeah, science. That's an example of science at work, like there. When guys like that are hitting grand slam home runs, all right. But still,
And the
good for
Tigers
them.
took advantage.
Yeah, exactly. You got to if you want to prove to be a competent baseball team, you take advantage of things like that at your disposal. And the fact that they were coming off of a disappointing series against the Twins, they split a series against the Rangers, and they took 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. Not bad considering the fact that you're still missing some players that have yet to return from injury, like Scooble, like Erod, and considering the fact that you're doing this and you're still only 4 games back in the division, and you have a homestand coming up to close out the first half of the year. Not bad, all things considered.
Yeah. And then the Tigers have a homestand coming up against the Oakland Athletics and the Toronto Blue Jays before the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game.
Yeah, not to mention the fact, speaking of the All Star game, worth noting that Michael Lorenzen has been named as a reserve for the American League.
Oh,
So
wow.
he'll be one of the reserve pitchers. Um, I remember seeing the names of Otani, of course, being the chief names among them. But yeah, good for
Otani
Lorenzen.
has 31 home runs. He hit a 493-foot bomb last night and then a 453-foot bomb.
Good Lord.
Yeah, 454-foot bomb earlier today.
Now, 2 things. One, he may be very well be going after Judge's 62 home runs. And 2, is he or is he not going to be in the home run derby?
He as far as I'm concerned, I don't know that yet, but I believe he should.
He should. Okay, you're the most recognizable player in the game right now. You're arguably the best player in the game right now. And that's literally from both sides of you're a 2-way player, the best hitter and the best pitcher in the game. You are being in the All-Star game. Yeah, I would say expose that star power and do it by being in the All-Star game. It would be the equivalent of one of the top NBA stars, or back in the day, the way they used to, performing in a slam dunk contest or the 3-point shootout. At least nowadays, you'll still see a Steph Curry or a Klay Thompson being the 3-point shootout. But back then, when you used to get the heavyweight names being in the dunk contest, you don't anymore. At least nowadays with baseball, every once in a while, you can still see the best hitters partake in the best in events such as this. So at least they got that going for them.
Yep. All right. So right now the Tigers. Let me look at the standings here. The AO Comedy Central standings. They're 4 games back.
Yeah, still in 3rd place, but they're 4 games back. They've won 2 in a row. And in my opinion, the fact that they're in this 3rd place, the fact they're in this spot with about 6 or 7 games to go before the break, considering the start of the year that they had and knowing the type of roster that's around them now, to me, I'm more than impressed. I know it speaks to the level of incompetency that's within the division, but in my opinion, You make do with what you got.
Yep, they're 37-46. Um, eight, they're still fourth worst in the entire American League, but only 8.5 games back of that third wild card spot held by the Yankees at 46-38. And then the Houston Astros 46-38 as well. The Baltimore Orioles 49-33, the first AL wildcard spot. So that's Tigers, unless you want to add anything else.
Mm-mm. I'm pretty much all filled up with that.
All right. So the Michigan State Spartans football team has a new quarterback to replace Peyton Thorne, the son of NFL great quarterback Matt Hasselbeck, Henry Hasselbeck. So, yeah, Peyton Thorne's already graduating, and the Spartans needed a quarterback, and I believe Henry Hasselbeck is that guy. He'll still
Fair.
need to develop, but I think he is that guy.
He'll need to develop, yes, but it'll be hard to do that without some of the weapons that they've had before. But we'll see how that comes up for him.
Yep. And then one last thing before we wrap things up. Former Michigan Wolverines football quarterback Ryan Mallett passed away a few days ago. So we pass our condolences to the University of Michigan and its football program, the Wolverines. And Ryan
As
Mallett
well as,
played for the Wolverines about a decade ago, didn't he?
yes, he then transferred to Arkansas. It was a little bit of a messy situation considering how he left. It was at the start of the Rich Rod era. He didn't fit at the system. It was quite of a messy ending, but he went on to have a productive career, not just in Arkansas, but also in the NFL, mostly as a backup in New England. But hey, that's not bad considering the fact that you still had Tom Brady at the time, and he was still winning you Super Bowls. So I'll take that any type of day. It was reported apparently that he had been found in a drowning incident. I don't know much of the details behind that, or what led to it,
It was
or
a
what.
drowning incident. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember now. Thank you.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know what's the update of that investigation at the moment, but still very sudden and very sad. He was in his mid 30s.
Yeah, and we'll try to keep our eyes out for the cause of the investigation of the drowning of Ryan Mallett. So,
Yeah, condolences to his family for sure.
yep. So here's another segment called "What We've Learned," and it's based on what we've all of what we've talked about and analyzed and graded here tonight on the Michigan Sports Truth podcast. Ed, take it away.
I would say in terms of what we've learned, um, in terms of the Tigers themselves, they've proven to be, in my view, an underrated overachiever in terms of working with what you got and dealing with adversity and other things that can wreck a team season. We've learned that they're an overachieving bunch of people that should be commended for their hard work and effort. Still not going to win you anything, but it's worth noting something. In terms of what else we've learned, I would say that excuse me, hmm, learned that the Red Wings are still continuing the theme of what Steve Eisman has been preaching, which is patience. You're seeing it in their draft picks. You're seeing it in their free agent signings. You're seeing it all around the board. Patience is the key. That is the theme. Steve Eisman is living by that testament. Um, I don't think he was going to be ever considering getting a guy like DeBrincat at any point at all of this free agency period. He understands what this team is at, where they're at, and what they need right now. That was the last thing they needed. So I don't know why people want to get upset and do all this, pearl clutching. Same thing with the Pistons. It's just no. I would rather follow this type of deal, this type of process, as opposed to giving outrageously overpriced deals to dudes that are over the hill or provide nothing to you or just make your team worse. We've been down that well before with Charlie V. We've been down that well before with Ben Gordon, and we've been down that well before with Josh Smith. No, just no. So that's what we've learned about the Pistons and the Wings. and the Tigers and everything else in between.
Yep, and that's what we've learned. So, that is another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast in the can. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth and like its Facebook page. Subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Like our videos and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at DT2Phillips and subscribe to my YouTube channel at DT2Phillips. Also, go watch my Twitch, DT2Phillips1984. Follow it, and follow Ed Smith on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at EdSmith313. Business shoutouts go to Athletico Physical Therapy on Woodward in Ferndale. Drove across it a few times with my long distance girlfriend Josette. By the way, Baldwin Family Healthcare of Cadillac. Cadillac Nutrition. Download the Engage app to place an order for an iced or hot protein coffee, energy tea, or protein or post-workout shake. Cali Tickets. Call Mark Goldman at 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac for designing the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast logo on my long sleeve shirt and t-shirt each. Cuts by Melanie of Lake City. The Ito Ramen House in Royal Oak, rated Detroit's best Japanese restaurant for consecutive years. Call 248-556-5775 to place an order or go to itoramenhouse.com. Also follow them on Instagram at Ito Ramen House. Delicious sushi and Filipino food. Let's Roll With It rolled ice cream in Cadillac, now branded with the Food Mafia. Follow it on TikTok at the Food Mafia LLC. Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac, 231-884-8195, and on Facebook, United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, Michigan, and Yen Yoga and Fitness in Traverse City. We'll be back next Sunday night at 9:30 or 10 p.m. for another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Until then, for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. And remember, we observe Michigan sports and we detect the truth. Stay on the lookout, everyone.
Stay safe and enjoy your 4th of July holiday as peaceful and safely as possible, please.
Happy Independence Day ahead of time.